Imagine the human brain, a 3-pound marvel of biology, dense with circuitry and alive with electrical activity. Within its labyrinth of connections, trillions of signals fire every second, orchestrating everything from memory and thought to emotion and movement. Yet, for all its complexity, the brain depends on something very simple: the food we eat. Its needs are particular, its appetite relentless, and the nutrients that nourish it are as essential as air or water. To understand how diet shapes brain function is to realize that what we eat is, quite literally, what we think. The brain's structure and function are unique among the body's organs. It is energetically demanding, consuming about 20% of the body's energy at rest, a voracious appetite for an organ that accounts for only a fraction of our weight. This high energy demand makes the brain especially sensitive to the quality and consistency of its fuel. Unlike muscles, which can draw on reserves, the brain requires a constant, steady supply of nutrients to keep its machinery running smoothly. When these needs are not met, the effects are not merely physical. They echo in how we remember, learn, and solve problems. Central to the brain's function is its composition. The brain is rich in polyunsaturated fatty acids, especially those from the omega-3 family. Omega-3s, most notably docosahexaenoic acid, or DHA, are not just structural components. They are vital for forming and maintaining the membranes that surround every brain cell. These membranes are the sites of nerve impulse transmission and neurotransmitter release, processes at the heart of thought and memory. The best dietary sources of DHA and other omega-3s are oily fish, such as salmon, mackerel, and sardines, as well as certain nuts and seeds. Evidence suggests that diets rich in omega-3 fatty acids help protect against cognitive decline and support memory. This is not just about maintenance, but about resilience. These nutrients help the brain adapt, repair, and withstand the wear and tear of daily life. But the story does not end with fats. The brain's inner workings also depend on a steady influx of amino acids, the building blocks of protein. Amino acids serve as precursors for neurotransmitters, the chemicals that relay messages between nerve cells. For example, tryptophan, an amino acid found in eggs, is needed to produce serotonin, which regulates mood and sleep. Tyrosine, another amino acid present in dairy, meats, and some seeds, is a building block for dopamine, a neurotransmitter involved in motivation and reward. Choline, abundant in eggs, is required for the synthesis of acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter essential for memory and muscle control. The plasma levels of these amino acids in choline, which depend on dietary intake, directly influence how much of each neurotransmitter the brain can produce and release. This means that what we eat can shape our very chemistry, affecting how we feel, think, and act. Vitamins are another cornerstone of brain nutrition, working in quiet but powerful ways. The B vitamins, specifically B6, B12, and folate, play critical roles in energy metabolism and the synthesis of neurotransmitters. These vitamins help convert the food we eat into usable energy, support the production of DNA, and regulate the metabolism of homocysteine, an amino acid that, in high concentrations, is associated with cognitive decline. Foods rich in B vitamins include leafy greens, whole grains, beans, and lean meats. Deficiencies in these vitamins can impair cognitive function, slow down mental processing, and even contribute to the development of neurodegenerative diseases. Vitamin D2 is emerging as a key player in brain health. While best known for its role in bone metabolism, vitamin D also supports brain function, with evidence linking adequate levels to better cognitive performance. Sources include fatty fish, eggs, and mushrooms, as well as sunlight exposure, which triggers vitamin D synthesis in the skin. Vitamin E acts as an antioxidant, protecting brain cells from oxidative stress, a process that can damage cell membranes and accelerate aging. Leafy greens, nuts, and seeds are excellent sources, as are oils like olive oil, which provide both vitamin E and anti-inflammatory phytonutrients. Antioxidants in general are critical for the brain's long-term health. The brain is especially vulnerable to oxidative damage because of its high fat content and metabolic activity. Antioxidants such as vitamin C, vitamin A, beta-carotene, and phytochemicals from berries and leafy greens help neutralize free radicals, supporting cell repair and reducing inflammation. Diets rich in these compounds are associated with better memory and slower cognitive decline. Blueberries, for example, are celebrated for their high antioxidant content, which may help preserve memory by protecting brain cells from stress. The minerals in our diets, though required in smaller amounts, are no less important. Iron is crucial for oxygen transport and energy metabolism within the brain. Lean red meat, beans, and spinach provide dietary iron, supporting the delivery of oxygen to fuel the brain's activity. Magnesium and zinc, found in nuts, seeds, whole grains, and leafy greens, are involved in more than just general metabolism. They participate directly in neuronal signaling and DNA synthesis. Selenium, another trace mineral, acts as an antioxidant and is necessary for proper brain function, with Brazil nuts being a particularly rich source. Choline deserves special mention, especially during periods of brain development. It is fundamental for the formation of cell membranes and for the synthesis of acetylcholine. During fetal and early postnatal development, the brain is particularly sensitive to choline availability. Deficiencies in this nutrient can have lasting effects on cognitive performance. Eggs are a primary source of choline, making them a valuable food for brain health across the lifespan. It is worth noting that the developing brain is especially vulnerable to nutritional deficiencies. During pregnancy and infancy, the supply of protein, energy, certain fats, iron, zinc, copper, iodine, and selenium is crucial for healthy brain development. Deficiencies in these nutrients can have profound effects, reducing cognitive capacity and impairing later learning and memory. Similarly, protein energy malnutrition during critical periods of growth can have lasting impacts, underscoring the importance of a balanced, nutrient-dense diet from the very beginning of life. The foods that best meet the brain's nutritional needs are not exotic or obscure. In fact, they are often familiar. Fatty fish for omega-3s, eggs for choline and tryptophan, blueberries and dark chocolate for antioxidants, leafy greens for B vitamins, vitamin E and beta-carotene, nuts and seeds for healthy fats and minerals, coffee and tea for caffeine and antioxidants, olive oil for its anti-inflammatory compounds. These foods, when consumed as part of a balanced and varied diet, provide a symphony of nutrients that support not only the brain's structure and function, but also its ability to adapt, heal, and thrive. Interestingly, it is not only the inclusion of these foods that matters, but also the avoidance of certain dietary patterns. Diets high in saturated fat and refined sugar have been shown to decrease levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, in the hippocampus, a region of the brain involved in memory formation and neuroplasticity. Lower BDNF levels are associated with reduced neurogenesis, the brain's ability to generate new neurons, and impaired learning. This means that while the right nutrients can support brain health, the wrong dietary patterns can undermine it, hastening cognitive decline. The synergy between nutrients is crucial. The brain does not rely on a single vitamin or mineral, but on a constellation of them working together. For example, the process of neurotransmitter synthesis requires both amino acids from protein and the catalytic action of B vitamins. Antioxidant systems depend on a web of vitamins and minerals working in tandem to neutralize free radicals. Even the formation of healthy cell membranes requires the interplay of essential fatty acids, choline, and micronutrients. No supplement or isolated compound can substitute for the complexity and balance found in whole foods. There is strong evidence that obtaining these nutrients from food, rather than supplements, is most effective for supporting brain health. Whole foods provide not just individual vitamins or minerals, but a matrix of compounds that work in harmony. Leafy greens, for instance, offer not only folate and vitamin E, but also carotenoids and fiber. Berries deliver antioxidants alongside fiber and phytonutrients. This complexity may underlie the consistent findings that diets rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats are associated with better cognitive outcomes. A heart-healthy diet is, in many ways, a brain-healthy diet. Foods that support cardiovascular health, fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and less processed options, also benefit the brain, helping to maintain tissue volume and memory. This overlap is not coincidental. The blood vessels that nourish the heart also deliver vital nutrients to the brain. When these vessels are healthy and unobstructed, the brain's cells receive the oxygen and nutrients they need to function at their best. In summary, the brain's nutritional needs are both specific and profound. Fatty acids, amino acids, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants are not luxuries. They are necessities. They shape the brain's structure, fuel its activity, and protect its intricate networks from harm. They support the chemical messengers that underlie thought and emotion, and safeguard the processes that allow us to remember, learn, and adapt. The foods that best provide these nutrients are, for the most part, accessible and familiar, yet their effects are nothing short of extraordinary. By honoring the brain's nutritional needs, we lay a foundation for cognitive health that endures, a gift not just for the mind, but for the whole of life. Imagine the brain as a dynamic command center, its inner workings continuously shaped by the foods we eat. Every meal triggers a cascade of molecular events that ripple through neural circuits, subtly sculpting mood, memory, and our capacity to learn. But the influence of diet extends far beyond simply fueling this 3-pound organ. It orchestrates the very chemistry that underpins thought, emotion, and adaptability. To understand this intricate relationship, we must explore the pathways connecting diet with brain chemistry and function, a journey that reveals just how much the contents of your plate can sway the mind. At the heart of this story is the concept of neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that enable brain cells to communicate. The production and regulation of neurotransmitters, such as serotonin, dopamine, and acetylcholine, depend on a range of dietary inputs and metabolic signals. For example, the gut, often called the second brain, houses a significant portion of the body's serotonin-producing cells. Diet quality influences the availability of tryptophan, the key building block for serotonin, but research has shown that the gut microbiome also plays a crucial role. Diets rich in fiber and plant-based foods promote a diverse, healthy gut flora, which in turn helps regulate serotonin synthesis and mood. Conversely, diets high in refined sugars and saturated fats disrupt this delicate gut-brain axis, altering the microbiome and interfering with neurotransmitter balance. The effects of diet on brain chemistry go even further, impacting not just the quantity of neurotransmitters but also their effectiveness and the sensitivity of neural circuits. For instance, high-sugar, high-fat diets, typical of the so-called Western dietary pattern, can trigger chronic, low-grade inflammation in the brain. This inflammation impairs the function of synapses, the tiny gaps where nerve signals are exchanged. Over time, such disruption can dull the brain's ability to process information, form new memories, or regulate emotions. There is growing evidence that these pro-inflammatory foods also contribute to oxidative stress, a molecular storm that can damage neurons and accelerate cognitive decline. The gut-brain axis stands out as a particularly fascinating frontier in this field. The communities of bacteria and other microbes living in our digestive tract respond rapidly to what we eat. Fiber-rich foods, polyphenols from fruits and vegetables, and healthy fats such as those found in fish and olive oil nurture beneficial microbes. These microbes, in turn, produce short-chain fatty acids and other metabolites that enter the bloodstream and reach the brain, where they help modulate inflammation and maintain the integrity of the blood-brain barrier. When the diet shifts toward processed foods, refined sugars, and unhealthy fats, the balance of gut microbes changes, a state known as dysbiosis. This disruption can impair neurotransmitter metabolism and even influence how the brain responds to stress and novelty. Animal studies suggest that such changes in the gut microbiota can lead to measurable deficits in learning and memory, further linking dietary choices with cognitive outcomes. Different dietary patterns illustrate these effects in practical terms. The Mediterranean diet, a way of eating that emphasizes vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, fish, and olive oil, has garnered considerable attention for its impact on cognitive health. In animal models, this diet enhances memory and learning, partly by fostering a gut environment that supports healthy brain function. The Mediterranean pattern is rich in anti-inflammatory compounds and healthy fats, which help preserve neural circuits and protect against the molecular wear and tear associated with aging. In contrast, the Western diet, characterized by a high intake of red and processed meats, refined grains, sugary snacks, and fried foods, has been linked to poorer cognitive performance. Studies in both animals and humans show that this diet promotes brain inflammation, disrupts neurotransmitter systems, and may contribute to neurodegenerative changes at the level of synaptic proteins. The differences between these two dietary patterns are not just theoretical. They appear in measurable cognitive abilities, brain structure, and even the risk of developing disorders such as dementia. The science of nutritional psychiatry has begun to reveal how these patterns affect mood and mental health. High-quality diets, such as the Mediterranean and its close relative, the MIND diet, are associated with lower rates of depression and anxiety. They seem to work by reducing inflammation, supporting beneficial gut microbes, and providing nutrients necessary for neurotransmitter synthesis. On the other hand, diets loaded with ultra-processed foods, trans fats, and excess sugar are linked to higher rates of depression, anxiety, and even sleep disorders. Large cohort studies have found that individuals consuming a pro-inflammatory diet face a greater risk of developing dementia, stroke, and neuropsychiatric conditions, suggesting that what we eat can tip the balance toward resilience or vulnerability. A closer look at the molecular mechanisms reveals why certain foods are so influential. Polyphenols, bioactive compounds abundant in colorful fruits and vegetables, have been shown to reverse some age-related cognitive deficits in animal models. They do this by reducing inflammation, neutralizing harmful free radicals, and enhancing the plasticity of neural circuits. Polyunsaturated fatty acids, particularly those found in fish and nuts, have the remarkable ability to regulate genes involved in synaptic function, essentially tuning up the machinery responsible for learning and memory. Conversely, diets high in saturated fats and refined sugars can downregulate these same genes, making synapses less responsive and reducing the brain's capacity to adapt. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself in response to experience, lies at the core of lifelong learning and recovery from injury. Nutrition is a powerful modulator of this plasticity. Caloric restriction and intermittent fasting, for example, have been found to boost levels of neurotrophic factors, proteins that encourage the growth and survival of neurons. Diets rich in polyphenols and omega-3 fatty acids also support neurogenesis, the birth of new neurons, particularly in the hippocampus, a region crucial for memory. On the other hand, chronic overconsumption of hyperpalatable, calorie-dense foods can trigger maladaptive forms of neuroplasticity, leading to changes in reward pathways that promote overeating and diminish cognitive flexibility. These effects are especially pronounced during periods of rapid brain development, such as childhood and adolescence, highlighting the importance of dietary choices across the lifespan. The idea that food can be medicine finds strong support in studies of anti-inflammatory diets. Patterns rich in omega-3 fatty acids, polyphenols, vitamins, minerals, and probiotics can reduce the risk of neurological diseases by modulating inflammatory processes and supporting a diverse gut microbiome. Such diets not only shield neurons from harm, but also encourage the repair of damaged neural networks. There is evidence that these anti-inflammatory foods can benefit individuals with mental disorders and neurodegenerative diseases, helping to slow the progression of symptoms by calming neuroinflammation. On the flip side, there is a cautionary tale about the dangers of overnutrition and ultra-processed foods. Excessive consumption of sugary drinks, fried foods, and refined carbohydrates has been shown to increase inflammation, shrink certain brain regions, and impair memory and executive function. Over time, these foods raise the risk of dementia and other brain disorders, partly by creating a hostile environment for neurons and by disrupting the metabolic and vascular pathways essential for brain health. Early dietary patterns can leave a lasting mark on the developing brain. Studies indicate that the foods children eat in their formative years shape not just their cognitive performance but also the actual structure of their brains. Nutrition influences the growth of critical brain regions and supports the formation of neural connections. The gut microbiome once again emerges as a key player, translating dietary inputs into signals that guide brain development and behavior. Both undernutrition and overnutrition during childhood can have enduring effects, impairing the brain's capacity to process information and adapt to new challenges. As people age, the relationship between diet and brain health continues to evolve. Diets high in antioxidants, healthy fats, and anti-inflammatory compounds slow the progression of age-related cognitive decline. They do so by protecting neurons from oxidative damage, maintaining the flexibility of synapses, and supporting the birth of new brain cells well into adulthood. The cumulative effect of these dietary choices is not just a sharper mind, but greater resilience to the stresses of life and the challenges of disease. One of the emerging themes in nutritional neuroscience is the synergy between nutrients and dietary patterns. Rather than single nutrients acting alone, it is the combination and balance of foods, rich in vegetables, fruits, unsaturated oils, nuts, legumes, and fish, that offers the greatest protection. This approach is embodied in the Mediterranean DASH and MIND diets, all of which have been associated with lower risks of cognitive impairment and dementia. These diets appear to work by targeting multiple pathways at once, reducing inflammation, supporting vascular health, and supplying the raw materials for neurotransmitter synthesis and synaptic maintenance. While there is much interest in dietary supplements for cognitive health, the evidence suggests that whole foods are more effective than isolated nutrients. The intricate web of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and bioactive compounds found in natural foods works together to support brain function. Supplements may help fill specific gaps, but they cannot replicate the complexity of a balanced, nutrient-dense diet. The story of diet and the brain is, ultimately, one of profound interdependence. Every bite ushers in a chorus of chemical signals, shaping the brain's landscape and influencing the way we think, feel, and remember. The foods we choose can help calm inflammation, sharpen synapses, and sustain the birth of new neurons. Or, conversely, they can fuel oxidative stress and erode the brain's resilience. Understanding these pathways gives us the power to shape not only our physical health, but the very fabric of our minds. With each meal, we lay down the tracks for mood, memory, and adaptability, making diet one of the most potent tools we have for lifelong brain health. Picture the brain as a living landscape, always changing, shaped and reshaped by the choices we make at the table. From the earliest moments of life, what we eat lays the foundation for learning, memory, and mental resilience. As the years pass, the foods we choose continue to sculpt the architecture of our minds, sometimes subtly, sometimes with dramatic effect. But the story of diet and brain health is more than just nutrients and molecules. It is a lifelong narrative where every stage, infancy, youth, adulthood, and old age, brings both vulnerability and opportunity. This journey begins even before birth. Scientific research has shown that a mother's diet during pregnancy is more than just fuel for growth. It is a master builder for the developing brain. Folate, for example, is essential in this process. Without enough folate, the earliest structures of the brain may not form correctly, potentially leading to lifelong cognitive challenges. Omega-3 fatty acids, particularly DHA, are another cornerstone. These fats, found abundantly in oily fish and some plant foods, become the raw material for the fetal brain's rapidly multiplying cells. If these nutrients are scarce, the impact can echo throughout a child's life, affecting attention, learning, and even emotional balance. The influence of nutrition does not end at birth. The first 1,000 days, a window stretching from conception through toddlerhood, are a time of explosive brain growth and connection building. Nutrition during this period is inseparable from cognitive destiny. Children whose diets are rich in whole, unprocessed foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes tend to perform better on memory and thinking tests, even decades later. This is not a fleeting advantage. It is an investment in the brain's long-term potential. Myelination, the process by which nerve fibers are insulated to speed up signals, relies on nutrients like healthy fats and certain vitamins. Without them, information processing slows, learning falters, and the brain's overall efficiency is compromised. The gut also plays a significant role in shaping the developing mind. Research has drawn connections between early life nutrition, gut microbes, and the brain's wiring. The foods infants and young children eat help cultivate a diverse and resilient gut microbiome, which in turn supports the production of critical neurotransmitters and regulates inflammation. A diet that encourages the growth of beneficial gut bacteria is, in a sense, helping to wire the brain for optimal performance. As children grow, the demands of school and social life increase, and so does the need for steady, high-quality nutrition. The brain is at its most plastic during these years, eagerly forming new connections. Science points to a steady supply of glucose, not the roller coaster highs and lows of sugary snacks, but a gentle, sustained flow from complex carbohydrates like whole grains and legumes. This kind of fuel supports focus and memory, while avoiding the crashes that sap energy and muddle thinking. Certain foods stand out as powerful allies for memory and cognitive performance. Berries, grapes, and watermelon are rich in compounds that not only quench thirst but also support brain cell communication. Avocados and beets contribute healthy fats and nitrates, which help keep blood vessels supple, ensuring the brain receives a robust supply of oxygen and nutrients. Leafy greens, always a brain food staple, offer a blend of vitamins and minerals that reinforce memory circuits and protect against cellular stress. Hydration, often overlooked, is fundamental. Even mild dehydration can dull concentration and slow reaction times. For children who may be less attuned to thirst, encouraging regular water intake is a simple but powerful strategy. Dietary choices in youth and adolescence are not only about immediate academic performance. Research indicates that patterns set early can shape cognitive health for the rest of life. Children who grow up eating diets high in whole, unprocessed foods tend to have sharper minds well into adulthood. It is a long view, but one with profound implications, suggesting that every healthy meal in childhood is a building block for lifelong brain power. The transition to adulthood brings new challenges. Stress, irregular schedules, and the temptations of convenience foods can chip away at good habits, yet the brain's need for nourishment remains as urgent as ever. In fact, midlife may be a critical period for laying the groundwork against age-related decline. Studies suggest that people who maintain higher intakes of omega-3 fatty acids, especially DHA and EPA, tend to have better brain structure and function even in their 30s and 40s. These nutrients are associated with larger hippocampal volumes, a key region for memory, and with stronger performance on tests of learning and recall. What is striking is that the benefits of omega-3s are not limited to any one age. In older adults, higher blood levels of DHA and EPA are linked with slower brain aging, often amounting to a delay of 1 to 2 years in the loss of brain volume. This is not just an anatomical detail, It translates into real-world differences in memory, processing speed, and the ability to live independently. The evidence also points to a broader protective effect. Regular omega-3 intake in later life is associated with lower risks of mood disorders, including depression. But omega-3s are not the whole story. Diets that emphasize whole grains, salads, and nuts, central features of the MIND diet, are consistently associated with better cognitive health. The Mediterranean, Nordic, and DASH diets all share this focus on plant foods, healthy fats, and minimal processed ingredients. Adopting such patterns appears to slow cognitive decline and reduce the risk of dementia, in part by supplying a steady stream of antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals that work together to protect neurons. In older adulthood, the focus shifts toward preservation, keeping the mind sharp, staving off memory loss, and maintaining independence. Here, protein-rich diets take on new importance. As people age, muscle mass and strength tend to decline, but so too can the brain's ability to repair itself. Consuming sufficient protein, and in some cases branched-chain amino acids, may help lower the risk of dementia and support ongoing cognitive function. Science also highlights the importance of meal timing and regularity. Eating at consistent intervals helps the brain maintain steady energy levels, avoiding the mental fog that can follow skipped meals or erratic eating patterns. Regular meals support the gut-brain connection, helping to regulate the production of neurotransmitters and reduce peaks and troughs in mood and alertness. No discussion of nutrition and brain health would be complete without mentioning hydration. Water is essential for maintaining the delicate balance of electrolytes and for enabling the flow of nutrients to brain cells. Even mild dehydration can impair attention, memory, and executive function. For older adults, who may have a reduced sense of thirst, making hydration a conscious habit can pay dividends in clarity and focus. Practical strategies emerge from this wealth of research. To maximize memory and protect brain health, focus on foods that supply a broad spectrum of nutrients. Berries for their polyphenols, grapes and watermelon for hydration and antioxidants, avocados and beets for healthy fats and nitrates, leafy greens for vitamins and minerals, whole grains and legumes for steady glucose, and nuts for both healthy fats and protein. Choose unprocessed foods whenever possible, and be cautious of the creeping influence of refined sugars, saturated fats, and overly processed snacks. It is not just what you eat, but how you eat that matters. Regular, balanced meals help maintain energy and focus. Diverse, colorful plates support a healthy gut microbiome. Staying hydrated is as important as choosing the right foods. And remember, the benefits accumulate. Each day's choices build on the last, shaping the brain's resilience and capacity for years to come. There are, of course, pitfalls to avoid. One is the belief that a single superfood or supplement can guarantee brain health. The research is clear that whole dietary patterns, not isolated nutrients, are what matter most. Another is the lure of convenience foods, high in calories but low in nutrients, which can erode cognitive sharpness over time. Irregular eating patterns, meal skipping, and chronic dehydration are all recipes for diminished mental performance. If this science offers any comfort, it is that positive changes can be made at any stage of life. The brain remains responsive to nutrition well into old age. Shifting toward a pattern rich in whole, unprocessed plant foods, healthy fats, and adequate protein can yield benefits whether you are nurturing a developing mind or aiming to preserve memory in later years. The key is consistency, diversity, and mindfulness. Small, sustainable steps that add up to a lifetime of cognitive vitality. In the end, the story of diet and the brain is one of constant interplay of nourishment, adaptation, and renewal. Each meal is an opportunity not only to fuel the body, but to shape the mind. Across the span of years, the choices we make at the table are etched into the folds of the brain, supporting the capacity to learn, remember, and thrive at every age. With each bite, we are, quite literally, building the mind we will carry into the future.